Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday. Happy anniversary, Dr. Mary.
Thank you. Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you. 14 years of marital bliss.
Yeah, with some addiction thrown in there to
spice it up.
Spice it up a little.
Yeah. I went back this morning to see what I wrote, the blog post I wrote last year, because I'm not going to probably write one today because we're in the middle of a million things, which we can talk about in a second. But, I really talked about the fact that I didn't really know that I was seriously taking vows when we got married. I mean, you sort of just say stuff. Like, how often do you really think about the Pledge of Allegiance or the Lord's Prayer or Happy Birthday or those kinds of things? We all sort of know the wedding vows generally: sickness and health, riches for poor, blah, blah, blah. You sort of just say that stuff. But I can say now, having gone through some of the crummier sides of those vows, that there's something really fabulous about standing up in front of people that you love and saying that out loud. And I do think it made it harder for me to leave, because I decided, as I was thinking about it after the fact, gosh, I guess I did say these.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to try to honor them if at all possible. So I'm grateful to have said them, actually. Grateful for the opportunity to have claimed publicly that I was with you. I don't know what I would have done if we had just been living together. And I'm certainly not implying that married people have stronger relationships. I didn't feel more love for you, more connected to you because we were now married than I did before.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And then I went back to see what we did on Daily Dose last year. And
That was a good one.
It was a good one. I have to point out, I was wearing this robe. I was drinking out of this mug.
I might have had my jammies on too.
You did have your jammies on. You had my white robe on. So unshowered. Dr. Mary, please explain why you look like an itinerant human. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
It's laundry day. No, we are in the midst of a huge home improvement program. Project. It feels like a program.
It does.
We inherited a house with hardwood floors, original hardwood floors built in the 50s. So we're redoing them.
Yeah, stripping them, sanding them, and re-varnishing them, which means, you have to move everything out.
We have a lot of furniture.
We do have a lot of furniture. Yes. So it's been a huge project. On top of that, we also stripped and re-varnished the deck. Yeah. We did some yard projects, and we completely repainted the hallway, which we live in a little house, but our hallway has 7 doors in it. So that's 7 doors of trim that had to be painted.
That is a lot of trim.
We've done all of that in the last 7 days. So
I'm looking forward for the semester to start so I can have a rest.
It's been quite a project-driven weekend at our house. But I wanted to pull up a couple of pictures to show from our actual wedding day, because I think they're interesting. So this is the first one. Look at you, Dr. Mary. And then there's this one. You can't really, so you can see right here, Dr. Mary is opening a wine bottle. So we bought, I believe, a case of red and a case of white and some beer for our wedding, because our reception was in our backyard. And I loved that there was a little alcohol at our party, but it was not, you hear people say things like, oh, I was trashed at my wedding. That's inconceivable for me to fathom. And quite frankly, if you were trashed at your wedding, stop saying it like it's a badge of honor. That's embarrassing. This is one of the most significant days of your life. Don't be trashed. And if you accidentally found yourself that way, maybe don't boast about it later in life. Anyway, I'm posting these pictures because we never lived together. So we were together almost 7 years before we got married. We never lived together. And you told me you drank a whiskey a night, which I've said a million times, kind of seemed like a lot of alcohol to me because I grew up with zero alcohol. But you were a bonkers functioning person, high functioning. So I didn't think much of it. When it came time to plan our reception, you didn't say to me, I need a case of whiskey. You didn't. I think if we had served no alcohol, you might have been fine with it.
I would have been. I mean, I didn't. I deliberately made sure I didn't drink too much during our wedding.
Yeah. And so
I was actually opening that for someone else.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not showing those pictures to say, oh, this was a shadow of things to come. 14 years ago, I had no reason to believe that you had a drinking problem.
Yeah, either did I, actually.
But here's what I can tell you. From June 1st, 2008 on, you drank more than I expected. You certainly were not drinking in the morning in those early years like you were at the end. You weren't, to my knowledge, you weren't getting up in the middle of the night to drink. I don't remember that.
I don't think I was. Not then, anyway.
Yeah, but you were certainly already drinking more often than one whiskey a night. I have very, very clear memories of watching you pour a whiskey and then another and then another. I think you often had 2 or 3 in a night. And that was what I was aware of. And that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was alarmed by it. Alarmed, uncomfortable by it, but I didn't have any idea what to say about it because I just thought, well, I don't know what this means, but I don't know what to do about it. So I did nothing for a long time. So I'm curious to know, and you know what? We're talking about this because last week with Allison Harden.
Yeah, she asked me when I thought,
Yeah.
this is where you're going with this, and I said I was about 30. So we got married when I was 38.
Yeah. So you said that and I was fascinated by it because you've never, to my knowledge, you've never pinpointed a time when you think things started to go off the rails.
I've been trying to think about it for a long time because a lot of people ask me.
So your dad died when you were 29.
Yeah.
In June.
Yes.
Do you think that was a piece of it? Let me just be really clear in case anyone doesn't know this. Maz's dad never drank one single drop of alcohol, really his whole life, right? In Ireland,
there's this thing called the pioneer. So you actually, in the Catholic Church, you take a pledge.
Thanks, Sandy.
Not to drink alcohol. And my dad took that pledge when he was 15. And to the day he died, when he was 60 and 2 weeks, he never drank anything.
Your mom barely drinks?
No, mom barely drinks.
Your sister barely drinks? No. I mean, you don't have immediate alcoholism
my sister,
in your family.
To this day, my sister, she's 3 years older than me. Even when we go home, it's, hey, the band's back together. Jane will just have like a glass of wine and think, whoa, and then she'd fill up her wine glass with water. She just did. Yeah.
So you think it started around 30. What do you think prompted that? Or so you were done with your PhD.
Yeah.
You were postdocing.
Yeah.
In Scotland.
Yeah.
Was it somebody there? Was it that the rain came at you sideways and you were freezing, so you had to drink?
The thing about Scotland is, especially living in Glasgow, even when the rain does come at you sideways, it's a hell of a city to live in. It's beautiful.
Okay.
And when the Scottish get to know you and they realise that you don't have a Scottish accent, but as I was always told, a lot of people always, after about 5 minutes, would nod at people I was with who were Glaswegians or from Scotland somewhere. And they'd always nod at each other. And I once asked a friend of mine, what's going on? He goes, they just realise you're not too bad for a Sassenach. And I thought, that's nice.
Okay. But you're not English. Isn't Sassenach just English?
I do sound terribly English, even today.
No, you don't. but whatever. You sound terribly something, but I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
I do have an odd accent. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the subject at hand.
Well, it's
Dr.
no
Mary.
Scottish.
Stop. That's true. Back to the subject at hand. Do you remember when we got married feeling any sort of transition? Or do you think that you had just been telling yourself, yep, I drink one whiskey a night, and so you convinced yourself that it was true?
I think the latter. Thinking about it.
Okay. So do you, I don't know. I feel like we talk about this a lot. And on one hand, it doesn't matter at all what prompted this. And on the other hand, it is fascinating. And I think other people wonder about it too, particularly
Well,
people who maybe
it
think,
kind of
"Am I
does
drinking
matter
too
because a
much?"
lot of people I know want to find a defining moment when they hit rock bottom. They want to know what started it all. And I just can't pinpoint it. Not because I'm trying to be aloof. I just plainly don't know. And a
So
friend,
fascinating.
an old friend of mine, before we retired and moved to Arizona, he said to me from AA, he said, don't drive yourself crazy trying to work it out. Just enjoy the fact that you are enjoying sobriety.
I know. I feel like I fixate on it way more than you
But that's
do.
fine. I mean, you have a right to do that too.
Well,
Because this is part of your story as much as it is mine. But yeah, I really do try. I mean, that's when Alison asked me last week, I thought, yep, I think I was about 30, and that's the closest I've got. Now, some people, well, is it because your dad died? And yes, my dad did die, and I was engaged to someone at the time, and that didn't work out.
what were you thinking?
I don't know. This was before Dana.
Fool.
This was BD.
Yeah. These were the dark years.
They were the dark years, the dark times. I was in a rut, and I thought I'm going to go somewhere. And I talked to my mum, and she said, "Oh, it's all right." I don't think she'd know. I don't think at the time she thought I was still living here 20 years later. But
anyway,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know when that defining moment is, or was, or why I,
did you
started drinking more.
I kind of can't remember if we've discussed this or not, but did you have the moment that so many of our guests have? The first time you took a drink and you thought, oh, I belong. This feels good. I finally fit. I'm finally comfortable.
No, I didn't, because I could always, I started, I didn't really, I'm not one of these people that drank out of your parents' liquor cabinet. For a start, they didn't really have one.
That's true. That's true. No reason to have one if you don't drink.
I didn't go around my friend's house and we raid theirs either. We didn't do anything like that. We went outside completely sober and had little metal tubes that we used to fire fireworks at each other like a bazooka in the local park. But, we did that sober.
That seems like a poor plan, but that's a different subject. Well, at any rate,
But no, there was no going to parties when you're 13 and getting hammered drunk and waking up and, yeah, I've arrived. That never happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I look at this picture and I wonder what that man was thinking in that moment. I wonder if you were already controlling how much you drank publicly, whether you were conscious of it or not.
I just remember being happy. I remember being nervous about being married, but happily.
Well,
nervous.
you should have been nervous about being married to me, but that's a different topic.
I'd known you for
doesn't matter. Does not
quite
matter.
some time before then, 7 years.
So I think, first of all, I've said this before, but I would go back and do this day again, even knowing what was coming. I would do it again because the after effects of what was coming have been so extraordinary. The middle was rough, very rough. And I wouldn't want to know that was coming.
No.
But I'm showing this picture because it's my favorite picture from our day.
But the person whose head you can see there, Darren Dunlop, is he a councillor, local?
No,
councillor?
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, he did mention that we actually photobombed that picture of him because we always said it was the other way around.
Mary, I was okay. At any rate, if you are in the midst of a marriage that has gone off the rails because one of you both of you is struggling with an addiction, try to go back to how it felt at the beginning and see if that is something that feels like you want to try to get back to. I wanted to get back to this day.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to how I felt on that day. And actually,
it's a hell of a moment.
Yeah, actually what has happened is we've gone way past that. I thought that day was incredible. And
Yeah.
it was incredible. I thought how I felt about you was sort of as deep as it got. And the reality is that we had just started to scratch the surface. And we absolutely could not, I'll speak for both of us, you can correct me if you don't feel this way, but we couldn't feel the way that we do today. We couldn't be where we are today had we not gone through the really tough middle.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because how many people can say they actually? Well, I mean, there's probably quite a few people, but how many people can honestly say they like being married?
Yeah. So if you're struggling, go back to the beginning and see if that's worth resurrecting, and then ask for help.
Yes.
I've heard you say this many times. That was maybe the hardest part.
Yeah, it is. It's asking for help. I don't know what it is, if it's a flaw in most people, maybe even a flaw in all of us, that there's a condition of the human race that we always will help. People have written papers and books about it. A kid's lost, everyone goes and looks for them. Someone gets lost in the woods, people go on a search party. Most people, if they've got time, will stop at the side of a road if someone's got the hazards on and they're struggling with a flat tire. People stop. Most people would go by and a lot of them would think, oh, I should have stopped. But when really big things happen, people, it's ingrained in humans to actually try and help people.
Well, and I'll just say this,
but asking for that help is tough.
Yeah. And if you are afraid of the judgment, which may very well come, I'll just say this, don't be more afraid of the judgment than you are anticipating the extraordinary. There was judgment. I judged you, you judged you. There was plenty of judgment to go around. But that was a temporary experience, a temporary emotion to a long-term successful effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So start with us. If you just want to practice saying that you're struggling, start with us and we'll do what we can to help.
It sounds like a cliche, but honestly, once you say that, it does get better after that.
Yeah. So
it's still scary, but it does get better.
Happy anniversary, Dr. Mary.
Happy anniversary.
We'll see you on Thursday.
I'll be less dusty on Thursday.
I'll have showered too. I guess this is just our anniversary.
Yeah, anniversary slop out. There you go.
Yeah. Have a great day. Stay warm.
Yeah.
Glad we're not having a backyard party today.
Oh, terrible.
We will see you on Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Bye.